Hi everyone, and welcome to the Hub&Spoke Show. I'm Chad, and I'll be your host for today. Here on the Hub&Spoke Show, we continue the conversations that we have on our Tokyo bicycle tours. So if you're interested in joining us for some of our tours, look us up at freewheeling.jp. That's freewheeling.jp. All right, let's get this show on the road. Well, everyone, happy 2019. We made it. It's the start of a new year, and we're hoping for a successful one. And to do so, we wanted a little bit extra boost of luck. So we did what most Japanese people do for the new year, and we went to our local shrine for some extra luck. You know, it can't hurt to try. Many folks visit the Shinto shrine for the new year to get a little slip of paper. And it has a whole bunch of poetic phrases on it. And it's a fortune. Sometimes you get a really good fortune. And sometimes you get a not so good fortune. And on the fortunes, there's always a little section on there that talks about how you can improve yourself. So maybe drink less, maybe date people who are nicer. Who knows? But on there, there's always a little phrase that helps you just become a better person. So kind of appropriate for the new year. Being the new year, many of us are looking back on the previous year and seeing what we did or what we accomplished, and also looking ahead and thinking about what we might want to achieve in the new year. In fact, some of us might be foolish enough to think that we would be truly able to fulfill a New Year's resolution. Mine tend never to be fully resolved. I don't know if you're like me, but that's generally the case. I tend to spend a few days on it, and then it falls away. But sometimes all these efforts are about trying to improve ourselves and push us in the right directions. We know deep down what we're supposed to do, but we need this kind of arbitrary date on the calendar to force us to make an effort towards the goals that will actually kind of change our fortunes. You know, it's kind of like when you have a project deadline or even anniversaries. We tend to need these little external pressures to push us to do what really deep down we know what we need to do. So it's probably best to pretend to be superstitious and go to your local shrine to get an extra push of good luck for the new year. All right, well, I guess that means I'm heading off to the shrine. But when I come back, we'll take a short trip down memory lane. The long holiday break means that a lot of families are traveling together. In Tokyo, it's also time when it's the dad's turn to try out doing things that usually the mom is required to do. I saw a pretty good example of this the other day. Most of the time, it's the mom's job to get the kids around town, and they usually go on this really big child seat-laden electric assist bicycle. I like to call them the tanks. And it's not just about the fact that they are big and heavy, but it's also kind of how the moms will ride them. So you just want to stay out of their way. But on this day, it was obviously the dad's turn to take out the family bike with the two kids on the kid seats. And as I followed the family, mom was on a small wheeled turquoise bike. And as we were all heading into this pretty sizable incline, she obviously didn't have enough speed going into the hill. And as we hit the incline, Dad was leading the charge, and with the kids on the front handlebar seat and the back rack seat. When the torque on the bike increased on the big tank bike, the electric motor kicks in, and it helps relieve the tension on the chain. And so it powers that beast all the way up the hill. But meanwhile, Mom had lost all momentum and was really having to stand on her pedals. She managed to struggle her way to the crest of the hill, but waiting for her on the top of the hill was a smirking husband and a bunch of giggly kids. And the whole family kept rolling off in a different direction. And I could hear them as they were leaving that the mom was saying how exhausted she was from that hill. And it reminded me of when I had to haul my daughter around on a very low, very heavy, very pink family bike of my own. There are a certain type of bikes in Japan that are certified kid safe. And usually these have really thick frames, large kickstands, small wheels so that it's low to the ground. And the whole idea is that the thing doesn't topple over when the kids start climbing on the seat and getting on and off the bike. But when it was time for us to go get our family bike, we went with the cheaper option with no electric assist. So when my daughter was a little bit older, it became more daunting of a task to get this hefty bike, the groceries, the book bags, myself, and an ever-growing child up these Tokyo hills. Yet it also became a pretty major incentive to get my daughter on her own bike as soon as possible. So would I have preferred to have the electric assist option? Yeah, maybe if we had more than one child, it would justify the lavish price tag for the upgrade. But for what we needed and our abilities, it was just fine to push through those heavy years before she could get on the roads on her own bike. So I'm not a purist. I don't believe that electric assist is cheating at cycling. To see families out there on their bikes, bringing the kids to kindergarten, really brings a smile to my face. Especially if you can hear the kids singing some sort of song from the back seat or just talking about their day. It's so nice. It seems like one reason why women don't like to cycle is because they're afraid of getting too sweaty. Although, that doesn't really stop them from doing like hot yoga or some other activities that they might get really sweaty at, but that's a different story. Anyway, with the electric assist bikes, you obviously don't work very much at all at cycling. So very rarely do you ever get sweaty unless it's a incredibly hot day. And in that case, you'd probably just sweat just as much if you went walking or stepped outside at all. Typically, moms will just dress very nicely, even have high heels and everything. And when they drop their kids off at kindergarten, they'll look perfectly fine for the other mommies. Speaking of looking good for the other mommies, I've got a secret exercise regiment that will help you keep that New Year's resolution. So we're going to take a quick break, and when I come back, I will be talking about holiday weight. I know I have some. Oh yeah, the delicious excuses that we make during the holidays to eat like a pig. It's such a great time of the year to eat and to fall asleep under the kotatsu. All the winter jackets and baggy pants really hide these holiday curves. This is kind of a heavy topic, and I know that it weighs on me sometimes. But I'm going to be talking about the old spare tire. As a Midwestern American, I grew up with a healthy appetite. And also my dad was an extremely amazing cook. And I like to use that as the excuse that I use when I'm told that I'm a bit overweight, or that when I go into the municipal health check, they say, "You're obese." And I say, "Oh, I don't know if I fit the Japanese standard, but thanks." So I ride a bicycle every day, but probably not in the way that many people from Australia or the United States would ride a bike. My cycling is really just around my neighborhood, and also I do it as a tour guide with guests who want to see Tokyo from a more unique perspective. It's not a race. It's just about getting around town, and you don't really kick off the kilos with a spin around the block, but it can't hurt. Cycling the way that I do is not demanding or physically challenging, which means that I do it all the time. It's really the easiest, most convenient thing that I can do. It's even easier than walking. To me, this type of exercise is what I think many people in the health industry have been suggesting for people for years. It's better to have a consistent regimen that you are willing to do on a daily basis than a difficult, more demanding activity that many people give up or only do on a rare occasion. So you could easily just freak out and say, oh no, I'm putting on the holiday weight, and then hit the gym for a couple days and say, oh, that was so much painful, I don't want to do it. And then you just, in your mind, you don't want to do it. And so you don't do it. So for me, cycling really is that kind of activity that I'm out there, I do it because it's the most convenient thing to do, and I do it on a daily basis. It's not much, but it's something. So don't get me wrong, I get it. People love to have bragging rights about how long their rides were and how big and thick their muscles are. It can be very empowering for some people to be able to gloat like that. So fine, more power to you. If that's what you need to stay healthy, great. I don't want people to confuse recreational extremo Ironman cycling as the real deal or the real cycling, and anything else is not true cycling. If that's the type of cycling and community that makes you happy and brings you and others joy, then that's your thing. But don't think of other people out there on the road as not true cyclists. If you're out there pedaling around on a bicycle, you're a cyclist, even if it's on an electric assist bike. If you're downgrading other forms of cycling so that you feel more a part of an elite group of superior cyclists, then you might have some other issues that you might want to address. For me, I feel like cycle shaming is similar to body shaming, and both are less than productive forms of communication. Okay, I got that weight off my shoulders. Moving on. So back to my, according to Japanese standards, fat ass. I sit a lot in front of the computer. I'm sure I'm not alone, but in Tokyo, we usually do a daily trip to the grocery store, and rarely do we buy more than what we can fit in the basket of our bicycle. It's a simple idea, but for a family of 3, which is ours, we probably don't need any more than what we can fit in that basket every day. When I get more than the usual amount of food, maybe 2 or 3 bags of groceries, it's really noticeable. And so instead of like when people go to the grocery store once a week and they buy a lot of stuff, a lot of that is wasted, a lot of that is forgotten about, and you can't tell if that's going to be the right amount that you need that day. On a bicycle, when you know that you're actually going to have to carry this stuff home in your basket, you kind of think, we don't need the jumbo size thing of that. And it definitely means that you're not going to go and ride your bike all the way out to Costco to buy things in bulk, which usually ends up meaning that you're going to eat in bulk. So, in a way, it keeps the calories away from the cupboard. When you think of it, a half an hour outing on foot or by bike is a pretty healthy routine, and the limitations of the carrying capacity of a bicycle basket limits a lot of over-purchasing. So one thing it has prevented is an ever-expanding of my waistline. But there's another waste that I want to discuss, and this is the true spare tire that I think of. Tokyo is a major metropolitan area, and because it is so compact, it is an incredibly walkable city. Places where you would need to go a little bit farther, there's mass transit, and of course, the bicycle. But there are still people who think they need a car. But to be honest, this is just a spare set of wheels. In reality, they usually just waste a bunch of space. So perhaps a diet is necessary to trim down that urban footprint. And for many families, they already have an electric assist bicycle. They don't need the car in the city. But I know, I get it. Giving up that false luxury of the personal vehicle is probably a hill that is too difficult for some people to climb. Like the mom who couldn't make it up the hill without her electric assist bike pushing her the rest of the way up to the top, we could all use a little bit extra boost every now and then. So I think it would be amazing to see the amount of cycling diversity that we have here in Tokyo in other cities around the world. But as long as the car is king, this makes it very difficult to make any inroads. One thing that could change is if there's a wider adoption of these electric assist bicycles. It could make that transition from a car life to a bicycle life less of a challenge. So if you haven't set a goal for the new year yet, and you need a little extra push in a specific direction, might I suggest trying out one of these electric assist bicycles? And if you have somebody in your life who keeps making excuses about cycling, they might just have the wrong impression of what cycling really is, and they might just need to be introduced to an electric assist bicycle. Hey, it can't hurt to try. So thank you very much for listening to this episode of the Hub&Spoke Show. We are brought to you by FREEWHEELING Japan, a bicycle tour company showing you the hidden gems and backstreets that wouldn't easily be found on a tourist's map. Freewheeling, cycling adventures that go beyond the expected. If you're interested in more episodes, follow us on Twitter or on Instagram at Hub&Spoke Show. That's HUBANDSPOKE Show. And we are always interested in interviewing people for the show. If you have something you want to speak about, please pedal on over to our social media and ring your bell at us. Well, talk to you later.